Good afternoon. Well, not good afternoon. Hello, and we've got Jemacho on the call. Very warm welcome to Jemacho, who is our current League of Extraordinary Gentlemen champion. He won last year, and it was great fun doing commentary on his game with Sergi. It was a really good game. It'd be really good to hear from Jemacho, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, what a nice introduction. Thank you, Moody. And you call me Jemacho?
Jemacho.
Jemacho? Yeah, it's
Jemacho.
it's pronounced Jemacho.
Jemacho. Okay, there you go. Everyone's got a lesson into how to say Jemacho. So, so
Yeah.
what's your views on just let's recap on the final last year. So it was a great final, but let's just hear your thoughts on how the final went last year.
Well, I got a bit lucky, to be honest. Sengel's team was brilliant. His one-turner seemed unstoppable, so I had to think really careful about when do I start, how do I set up, how do I maximize my chances to take the one-turner out. And it all didn't work. He stayed in, so I had to hope for the toss, and I got the toss, and that's how I won. So it was a bit of luck. Yeah.
I, I,
Uh,
I remember watching. I think it was his second one turner where he had to blitz you out of the way, and I think he failed one of the passes. So he had to make so many rolls, a blitz, a go for it, just to push you out of the way, and it was just really great to watch.
yeah, he had a quick snap, I think, so he could blitz.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was terrible.
but that
But
that oh,
I think he made one mistake, and the mistake was that he started with a touchdown. Uh, um, and that way I could. He had a touchdown, then I could start, and then I had two complete drives to try to take him down. And I think that was a mistake. If he won the toss, he would have had to let me start.
yeah.
Uh,
So I played him in the I think it was the first round of a playoff, and he beat me 2-1, I was so surprised that he just scores those one turners so quickly, and I've got an underworld team, and they're quite bashy, not quite as bashy as your werewolves, but I was surprised that he's got so much confidence in trying to defend and not lose all of the players, but
Mhm.
it's a really good technique, and he's a great player. But anyway, you won the game, and you say it was luck. I was watching it, a few of us were watching it, and it was a great game to watch. But that was last season, so you are in the playoffs, which is great. Um,
Mhm.
but you said yourself that your team you feel is past its best. So it'd be really good to get some feedback from you as we run through the games. So I'm going to flick on to the next slide, which shows the bracket. Um, just so people are watching, we've got a breakdown of each of the games. So we'll go into a bit more detail as we go through the rest of the slides. But what's your initial view on this? I really like the bracket, but I definitely think the left hand side of a bracket is a little bit easier than the right hand side of a bracket, and I'm quite lucky because my team are in the left hand side. So, what's your initial thoughts on the bracket structure?
Yeah, I think Siggy did a really great job with the brackets. I like the setup, but I have to agree. Um, if I look at the left one, the most fearful team is the cheaters. I really like your team, and then there are some outsiders, but they're not real big contestants. I like the Bone Stugs and Entropy. I like the Cornish Pirates, the champions, because they have a great player, but they are not really great teams. I think from the left bracket, the cheaters are the best one, and you are the second one.
Yeah, I really like the Wood Elves. I had to fill in Division 4 with a no, it was free. I played the champions in the pre-season, and they absolutely obliterate me. Um, I think they're Wood Elves are always a threat, aren't they? But we'll see later on. He's already got quite a few players out, which is a typical for Wood Elves. So then we go on to the dangerous right-hand side, and what jumps out to me here is the Chaos team who I can't Conurbano Violento. That team has developed so much over. They were in my division, so there's a lot of good teams in here, and obviously long overdue the reigning champions are in here, and I think we've got the three Lizardmen teams this side. So what's your thoughts on the right hand side?
They have a lot of great teams. The first one, Royal Antwerp, it has 11 guard, 11 or 12 guard players. It's unbelievable. It's a little bit bloaty on TV, but the team itself with a death roller is
Mm,
quite impressive. I think Yin Yang Lizards with Ink. He's a great coach. The team is also really impressive. I think he is a really strong contender for the title. And then there are some others. I like the Real Suckers team.
mm.
I do not know Laughing Boy really well, but he has two Edge 5 vampires that could do something. Um, and there are some Agi 4 skinks, so they are always dangerous. But I haven't seen the Conurbano Violento team. I haven't seen it.
We'll see them shortly, and they are frightening. Okay, so any final thoughts on this, or should we move on?
I totally agree. We can move on.
Okay, so here's the first game. We've got the cheesy cheese cheetahs v the Pokemons. I'm going to flick. We need to add here the Pokemons were a wild card entry, and it was really interesting coming up to the last game of the season, or the last few games of the season, because I think there's about 4 or 5 teams in contention for that wild card, and the Pokemon's got it in the end. So that added a different flavour to the playoffs this year. To have obviously we've got more coaches in the league, and to have that wild card, I think just adds a whole new dimension. So the first game we've got Pokemon's v Cheesy Cheese Cheetahs. And what jumps out to me straight away is a massive, massive potential team inducements the Pokemons can get here. So let's have your initial thoughts on this game.
Well, I'm not sure if the poker mans stand even a small chance. Their team is completely undeveloped. Um, Milo is a, is a good coach, but he has no tools to work with. Unless the dice totally favor him, he has no chance.
And so what jumps out is if you look at Milo's win rate with lizards is 46%, and then you look at Sengi's win rate with Skaven is 65%, and 65% with a win rate with a team is massive in any league. So that jumps out to me, and I totally agree that the team's quite imbalanced. The 530 potential inducements. What can you get there? What do you take against Sengi? You know, you've played him a few times.
But you have to diminish Sengil's team. I'm not sure if Wizard does anything versus the cheesy cheese cheaters. I would take a bribe, perhaps, um, some babes to make sure my team survives. Um, I'm not sure if there is a star player with Mighty Blow because the Pokemans do not have a reliable Mighty Blow. Um,
They
I
do
would
have
not
they do have the strength 5 Saurus, don't they? With Mighty Blow.
Toxicroak,
Is
Toxicroak, but he has um, the Croxigore is not really reliable.
No, there's a
Uh,
star player you can take. Sybil or something.
yeah, Sybil.
Yeah,
Does he have Mighty Blow?
I think so.
Then I would take him. I have never ever played Lizenman.
So looking at this page, it looks pretty straightforward win for for the cheesy cheese cheaters. But let's look at the next page and let's look at some of these. So if we look at these stats here, I've highlighted some areas and I've picked up the same as you. The underdevelopment of the Sauruses is quite worrying. You know, and just the Skaven, they are just frightening. If you look at that Blitzer with that, that is a really high percentage of removals. So anything you want to pick up here, and if I've also added some averages of removals and being removed, which is quite consistent here actually. So what's your thoughts here?
Well, he has two Blitzers, the Cheesy Cheese Cheaters. There is only one showing, but he has another one. He was out after the game versus me, but he's back.
Okay.
Um, but the disadvantage both blitzers have is they both have a nickel.
Mhm.
So if Milo is able to take him out quickly, um, then the Skaven are rather defenseless in the blocking game.
Yeah, and you can see the cheaters when they're getting hit, they've got a 44% armor rate. So nearly 50% of their hits is breaking armor. That's
Yeah.
and even if it's not necessarily a removal, it's just sometimes, especially when you're playing against skinks who have got that quite good movement. Um, you know, if you even if you're stunning a few players, that's going to open up. So I think that's a big chance, and I really agree with you. By getting a star player with Mighty Blow will really add to the chances for Milo.
Yeah. That's also the reason I would take a bribe to increase the damage output. Uh, and that's the reason I think a wizard is less um, reliable or effective.
Well, let's face it, he's got enough. He's got enough inducements. He could take a lot of stuff, couldn't he? But
Yeah.
I think this will be an interesting game. My prediction on this is that the Skaven will win. I think Sengi will be looking at this. He'll do his usual approach, a couple of one-turn touchdowns, and just ride out the lack of mighty blow. That's my view on this.
Yes, I fear so. And if Milo is going to take Sibley, he's going to get blitzed and piled on and removed.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that moves us on to our next game and two pretty fresh teams. Bones, Thugs, and Entropy, I can't even say that word, versus the Cornish Pie Rates. So again, these are two quite new teams. So let's look at the stats.
I really like their names. They're genius.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say the names. So here we've shown a team. We've got the crikey. I can't see this. It's quite small. We've got the Undead versus Chaos. So I think one of two Chaos teams in the playoffs. So what's jumping out at you here?
Well, the Chaos team is really well balanced. I really like the team. It's TV efficient. It has everything it needs. It has a tackle. It has a dirty player. It has an agile four. It has claw. The only thing it's missing, it's claw, mighty blow, and piling on. It only has one guard, but it's a really nice team. I like it.
Yeah, and Adamator has played 24 games as a Chaos coach, and that's quite an impressive record, isn't it? 65% from 24 games is pretty impressive. Um,
Yes, it
so
is.
But then we've got the undead. They've got a fair amount of team value. Um, that could play quite a big part in this game, but they're nowhere near as developed as a Chaos team, are they? So um, you'd like I like to see a couple of the mummies with block, or at least one with block. It just gives you that little bit of reassurance, but they're quite underdeveloped. But it's a new team, so yeah, that's what jumps out. But looking at these two teams here, um, there's some. If we look at the Pirates' record, that top area I've highlighted, they're
Yeah,
unbeaten. They've won six, drawn two. But look at those stats: 11 touchdowns, four against, 19 casualties, three against. That they are some really solid stats, aren't they?
yeah. Yeah, I haven't played Adamator before. Well, he looks quite good.
And you can see the undead. All of their offense is around the two ghouls, but again, they're just block dodge ghouls, quite underdeveloped. But they play a really hard running game. 400 meters running between them in so far. And then they focus their main attack from the two mummies, which have got guard. But again, I think the challenge here is going to be the development issues or different development between the two teams. But it's could be quite close. But I'm thinking the Chaos will win this.
I agree. It's not that easy to score as an undead coach, and definitely if you get outstrength and you have to position really careful to avoid the claw on your mummies, um I think Chupa will need some luck to win.
The only saving grace that I can see for the undead is there's only one tackle on the Chaos team. And we all know that those ghouls, they're your target. When you play an undead, you just nail the ghouls. Once you remove a ghoul or two, you get a numbers advantage. They haven't got regenerate, which they are your main target. But Adamator has only got one tackle, so that um, could be the difference.
And he has a wrestle beastman.
Yeah.
Uh,
But those claws will be coming out against the mummies, I'm sure. Good.
Mm.
Okay, so now it's me, the Slumbog Scummers, my lovely underworld team versus the orcs of Total Brainlock.
I really like the orc team. It's really, really TV efficient.
Yep.
Um, I was missing the Blitzer and the Black Orc, so perhaps not that TV efficient. But I think it's a good team. It has a lot of guard, has a lot of block. He has the Mighty Blow piling on tackle dude, and he has an agility 4 lineman. That's not great. Um, but it's a good team, and Benzo is not a really experienced coach, but I played him once, and he did pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
he's never played, according to Spike. He's never played against an Underworld team. So his win record against Underworld is 0%. So I'll hopefully be banking on. But yeah, I've considered the returning players and the team value, which is why the maximum TV I can get is 260. So
ah,
I will be definitely taking Glart, who is the strength floor for Skaven Blitzer with Claw. So that's what I'll be taking there. And my record against Orcs is about 53%. I've played a lot of Orcs, but I've never played. I've played Benzo in one of our side leagues, but yeah, I agree with you. He's got a good balanced team. I can't remember whether Ripley, his blitzer, whether that's a niggle or whether that's just a miss next game, but he does have a few potential niggles, which I will be targeting with my two blitzers.
I think you have a really good shot at winning, but it won't be easy. He has three tackle players. You rely on your touches. How important are your goblins in a game?
I've pulled this slide up because we can see when you said I rely, I relied 100% on my thrower, which was Altich there with 6 touchdowns, massive running,
Okay.
and he had block, big hand, and extra arms, but he got nailed in the last game, so he's been sacked. So I've now got a vanilla thrower. But my goblins, they are important in the game. Just pretty much typical cannon fodder. But my the strength of my team is in those bottom three players, which is the two blitzers and my blodge sidestep troll. Um, so I think this is going to be quite close. I really do because
Yes.
he's got two mighty blow, and if you're hitting goblins or armor class, that's Dungeons and Dragons for you. If you're hitting AV7 people with mighty blow, you're gonna remove people, and I get a lot of players removed in my games. You can see I get a lot of casualties, 25, but I also lose a lot of players, and I think that'll be the difference in this game. Sorry, he's got three mighty blows, so I just need to get in quite quickly with my Skaven, my blitzers, and just try and get ahead of the game. I mean, if you look at my when I'm blocking, I break 50% of my blocks. 50% of the armor break. 50% of my blocks result in an armor break. That is the only mechanism I've got to try and score. But he's got quite a solid team here. Is there anything that jumps out from you here?
Hmm. Well, I was thinking. You said you were going to take Glart. Um, that's not about the slide, but how much does Glart cost?
He's 210, so that leaves that so I can potentially take Glart and a Babe. I think is what I can get from a team value difference.
I have no other thoughts. I think it will depend on the blocking dice.
Yeah, I I think you're right. In this game, I think this game will be decided quite early. If my Claw Mighty Blow um, kick in early, then I'll get a numbers advantage. If Benzo's Mighty Blow and Tackle kick in early, he'll get the numbers advantage. And I think this game will be decided by turn 4 or 5, I think. So we're moving on to our next game. Um, here's the Wood Elves. So we've got the Wood Elves versus Bretonia, which is going to be an interesting game. What's your thoughts here? Quite close team value, which is good. But what jumps out to me is the 9 players of the Wood Elves, which is quite standard, I think, for a developing Wood Elf team, isn't it? They don't carry many players, but there's some great development there already, isn't there?
I'm not sure. I do not like the amount of increased movement. I'm not sure it adds a lot in a game. I like one player with increased movement to increase the chance for one turn touchdown, but I don't know if three increase a lot. Certainly not in a team that's not really big on development. I think he's building his team in the long run.
Yeah,
Uh,
and his record is great. Playing the Dust Bunny, who's also a previous winner of the G Cup, that is some impressive record, isn't it? Nearly 70% win rate with Wood Elves. Um,
yeah, he plays really secure. I really like his playing style. He almost makes no mistakes. I think he's one of the best players in
yeah,
the league.
Absolutely. And his opponent has only played 7 games with Bretonia, so he's there's quite a difference in knowledge of the team you're playing. So I think that'll be a key difference. And I think these Wood Elves are actually a really if I was a betting man, these are someone I'd put money on to progress quite far in this tournament because the coach is so good. But right, let's look at the stats. So here we go, and I've highlighted again at the top Dust Bunny's record. That's
Yeah.
amazing, you know. But look at the difference in casualties. He's been murdered, and to have a team this well developed, or developed with that much murder is quite good.
I totally agree. Mm.
And the blitzers, as you'd expect to see on a Bretonian team, are the bulk of the carriers and the damage dealers. I think Bretonian blitzers are really solid pieces on the Blood Bowl pitch, and he's definitely focused everything on those guys, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he only has one tackle, no tackle mighty blow. He has no sure hands. If the Bretonian coach doesn't remove Bunny's team quickly, uh, he will lose. Mm-hmm.
And but they're both very damaged teams, aren't they? So when I say damage, they're both more likely to be removed than removed, which I think will definitely play in the Wood Elves' favour here. I mean, Wood Elves, like all Elven teams, if you've got your key players on your war dancers and your catchers, you can play a team of 7 with well a team of 8 with 4 players and still get a result. So it's going to be quite an interesting game, but I think the experience of the coaches here will win the game. The Bretonian coach, Acad, Acad, Academical. I need to get everyone's name written down in a way that I can pronounce it. I think his experience of 7 games as a Bretonian coach with a good record for those 7 games against someone of the caliber of a Dust Bunny with 70% win record with Wood Owls. That's the difference here, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So here's the dwarfs. You've been talking about these dwarfs, and there's been a lot of commentary, or not commentary. There's been a lot of questions around the Death Roller.
uh, yeah, I already checked them out. The team.
So what jumps out is these dwarfs and this coach has not played against lizards. And I think everyone knows that lizards are a fantastic team, and not having experience against a lizard team, even if you've got a solid dwarf clustered of guard everywhere, we all know lizards. And Ian B, sorry, my dog's howling outside. Ian is a really good lizard coach as well. He's quite new to a league, so but it's interesting that the dwarfs haven't faced lizards before.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. But there is a big TV difference, and I saw one game of Annihilator, and he likes to base up.
Yeah.
And I think this is the big disadvantage for the Lizardmen if they get based up um, good, and I think it's going to happen. So he's going to immobilize the Lizardmen early on, and that's going to be difficult for the Lizardmen.
Yeah, so I think again we're going to see the Sora star player here, um, because Ian's Saurus aren't that well developed. It's interesting that he's taken 2 Sauruses with dodge. I think probably throughout the main season he was chuckling, saying, "Yeah, I've got dodge on my Saurus." In his first game in the playoffs as dwarfs, he's probably gutted.
Yeah, I don't think it's a. Uh, Could have been better, I think. Dutch is not a good choice at the moment. Perhaps in the long run. Um,
No, but looking at this page, Ian's defense. I mean, I've seen a few games of Ian. He plays at the same tabletop club as me, so and I pulled him into our league, and that is a really impressive defensive record. To only concede 4 touchdowns in 7 games is pretty good. Um,
yeah,
but then you just look at that guard and that mighty blow. It's going to be hard, even with that team value. It's going to be really hard.
I think here comes the challenge for an annihilator. If he isn't putting his dwarfs on in a compact way, um, it will be difficult to stop the skinks. If Ian takes a wizard and the ball gets in a tough spot, and Annihilator is not able to defend the ball, he's going and the ball gets snatched. He's going to lose. So
Yeah, and we all know that dwarfs struggle to score, just because of their low movement. But actually, Annihilator has scored the same amount of touchdowns as Ian and conceded one less than Ian. So I think Ian, who is a solid Lizardman coach, is really the odds are massively against him in this game. But it's going to be an interesting one. But I don't think any of us want to
yeah,
see. I don't think any of us want to see dwarfs progress, do we? They're just not. They're just not right. Dwarves. They shouldn't be in this world.
I must say I would prefer to play the Lizardmen than the dwarfs. I agree.
Talking the lizard men, here we have two extremely good lizard men teams,
Yes, I agree.
and two very good coaches. So big TV difference here. Ink and he's very experienced. He's got a 62% win rate with his lizards against a 54% win rate. But that 460 against two lizard team, looking at this page, it's all looking down to that development of the Sauruses for me, and 460 I don't think is going to fill that big gap. And I think jumping out at you.
No, I totally agree. Um, Ink has a lot of strategic skills. He knows how to use his tackle, Mighty Blow Pommer, really well. He knows how to use his guard in an efficient manner. He has a lot of guard. He has 4 guard. He has the Ag 4 skink. I'm not sure if GT Tausig has a big chance, to be honest.
But talking of Ink though, if he's scored 8 touchdowns and conceded
Yes.
10. How has he progressed? On average, his record isn't great considering that team is great. I know he's in amongst some really great teams in Division One, but I'm surprised that he's progressed, because that's jumps out at me.
Yeah, but he got, I would say, almost obliterated in his first 2 matches, one against Sengil and one against me, in which we almost removed half of his team. I think Sengil scored 3 touchdowns, I scored 3 touchdowns. Um, and it looked over after two matches, but he came back. He had a great comeback. He had more wins than
Yeah.
draws. A lot of our teams had draws in Division One, and that's the way he made it.
So that's really impressive. If he got annihilated in the first 2 games, and then to not lose for 5, then brilliant. So that tells you information behind data is really important, and you know that says a lot. And if we look at GT, he spreads his love around those skinks a lot, doesn't he? But what I'm really impressed with, his Croxagore has actually ran the ball. What's go what's going on there?
Ah, and he has two injuries. The Croxigore,
Yeah.
both Croxigores have a niggling. Uh,
But the development of those sources is key. The team value will give. I'm assuming GT will take the additional Saurus, but the lack of guard, the lack of development, I think that Inc is going to continue his unbeaten run of 5 games and potentially make it 6.
yes, I agree.
Oh, your good self against Laughing Boy, the real suckers.
Yes.
Right,
This,
so there's been a lot of talk actually about how Laughing Boy was able to get 2 languages in Spike. I don't know whether he's showing off that he can speak 2 languages or showing off that he can make SpikeBot record that you speak 2 languages. So this obviously isn't about language speaking, but I just wanted to let you know there was a bit of questioning around that. But here we've got two great coaches and 2 very interesting teams. So let's hear from you on this. But one thing I want to say is your win rate with the Necromantic is phenomenal. 72% win rate with that team is just a fantastic record. So that's what jumps out at me. And pretty much every vampire team you've played with this team, you've won. Or sorry, with you've won. So you know vampires, you know how to play against them. You're playing with a team that you've got a 2%. I think the statistic wise, Laughing Boy also looks like he knows how to play against Necromantic. So I think that this is going to be a coach on coach epic. What's jumping out at you apart from those frightening vampires with agility 5?
well, I'm not really sure if you're familiar with the dangers of statistics. Um, but Vampires is a rarely played team,
Yeah.
and that can skew the statistics a lot. I think I have played about 4 or 5 games against Vampires, and I'm not sure if Laughing Boy has played a lot of games in total. He has played 43 games. Perhaps he has only played 5 games against the Necromantic,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure about the power of that statistic.
Very, very safe and balanced answer. You could be a politician.
But, well, I like his team. His team is really challenging. Vampires can surprise you a lot.
Mm,
Agile 5 can surprise you. His team is balanced. It's lacking guard, it's lacking tackle, but it has a lot of core power. That's what I like about it. Um, and if you look at the TV difference, I what
It was
um,
210, I think.
yes, I think the TV difference now is 90, not 210, but 90, because I have some cash and he got his vampire back, and he fired a troll. There's the difference. The difference is 60, and he has 90K in the bank. So he organized his team so he could take a wizard, and
Ah.
I think taking a wizard is his only chance for a win.
Well, I've seen you play a few times, and what I think you do really well because a lot of the games you're going into, you're playing against a wizard, and the way you work your 2 ghouls is really clever. You almost play one behind the other, but at a safe enough range where if the wizard does come, you've got your one in backup. So I think it's really interesting that he's structured his team to get that wizard. Um, and I've seen Laughing Boy play vampires, and I think it was the last game of the season. And he's a really solid coach with vampires, which are incredibly hard to. I think vampires are the hardest team to play in the game. I do, but he's really solid. But yeah, I think looking at this, your removal rate is is actually it's pretty similar. I thought your removal rate would have been higher than that with your two crazy werewolves, but um, it's going to be an interesting one. This is one of the games I'm really looking forward to because I've seen you play this team a lot, and I've seen Laughing Boy play this team, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, the difficulties that my team has, and if you watch my um, the last few games, I had 4 draws. My team is really vulnerable for bad dice. I pick up the ball on a 3+. I do not have an Agile 4 ghoul, so I'm pretty vulnerable for bad pickups. And if I have a bit of bad luck, it's easy to draw against me. And I think that is a weakness that the vampires do not have. Uh, so I have more killing power, but I'm also a little bit more vulnerable for bad luck. Um,
Yeah, but I think that's the key thing. I mean, a draw in in the season proper is a great result. A draw in a playoff means overtime, and 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 if you look at the vampires, not only are they getting removed by you, they're getting removed by themselves. So if this does go into overtime, and I don't know how many of the thralls will be left standing because you know. So I think a draw over the 16 turns will be more than enough for the necromantic. But it's it's about attrition, isn't it? And they haven't. He had Laughing Boy. Well, mind you, he's got mighty blow on four of those vamps. I didn't realise that until now. Actually, crikey! So he is going for it, and the average armor on the necromantic team isn't great. It must be 8. So yeah, it could be a very well. This is a game I'm really looking forward to.
yes, I'm not convinced I'm going to win, so uh, it will be tense. I think it's a difficult start.
And now we're moving on to one of my favourite teams, Conerbano Violento. I can't even say the name, but I really like this team. And
Yeah.
the, I think it's a really balanced chaos team. I think the two chaos teams we've covered today are in next season or the following season, they're going to be up there challenging for the title. This is another really balanced Chaos team. He hasn't got a lot of tackle, but you don't really need that against Kamari, which is good. But that is a big team value difference, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Having a lot of block is really solid. The mighty blow claw is really will be difficult if he gets a hit on the Tomb Guardians. The only thing it's missing piling on, and claw mighty blow is good, but it's not a game changer on itself. Um, Without piling on, it can be subpar, I think. But the massive amount of block is going to help a lot, I think.
And he's got a couple of guard in there, which is good, and it's always good to
Uh,
have got guard on your Chaos Warriors. But what jumps out at me is Just Saying has only played 7 games with Kamari, and obviously with this team because that's him being here. So he hasn't got a lot of experience playing Kamari, and then the Lionheart has got a lot of experience playing Chaos. Not a great record for Chaos, actually. I would have thought that was a higher record, but yeah. So that 480 team value um, will be interesting.
Perhaps he has played 109 games with Chaos, so perhaps he has played a lot of more games, and a win rate of 56 is not bad. So I think Irick is a pretty decent coach.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a very good coach.
Yeah.
And
Um,
looking at his top line statistics again, he's not been beaten. He beat me in it was a close game actually, but he did beat me. But look at that: 10 touchdowns, 4-3 against, 19 casualties, 4-5 against. You know, it's a really solid. Both
yeah.
these chaos teams look quite. You know, they're developing well. They've got good coaches, and they've just had solid seasons. But that I didn't know what to highlight on here because it just seems that everyone is doing something of value in that team.
Yeah, it's a really balanced team, and I would think it's pretty efficient at defense. I'm not surprised he had not a lot of touchdowns against. Yeah. I think it's going to be really difficult for Just Saying, uh,
Yeah.
a genius name. Just Saying.
Mhm. And he's got a throw ra with agility, which is brilliant. You know, once you get a throw ra with plus agility in that team, you protect them. But I think with the amount of decay, these guys do have decay, don't they? Yeah, the Toon Guardians
Yeah.
have decay. I think the amount of decay on the big players, and you can see from the stats, he puts a lot around his Toon Guardians. Um, and I think that claw and mighty blow against that decay will be the game changer. I can see at least two of those Toon Guardians out the game by half time because Eric will just go for them if he's defending or attacking, and then it'll just I think this is going to be another chaos win, unfortunately, or fortunately,
Yeah.
depending on which coach you are.
I agree. Just Saying is lacking block. He's lacking guard. He has no dirty player. He has almost no tools in his shed. Uh, I fear for him. Yes.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, I did not notice that it got dark in the room. So
It is getting late, isn't it? But so it was really good fun talking through these teams, and it's there's some really good matchups here, and it's been but my summary and what I've seen today is I like the champions. I think they are a dark horse, and the Dust Bunny is a solid coach. Um, I think the Chaos teams, maybe not this season, but definitely in future seasons, are going to be up there. They look frightening, really well balanced. But there's some really juicy games in here. You against Laughing Boy will be great. The Lizard Duel, I think that'll be a great fun game. Um, and you know, all I can say is I just hope those dwarfs get knocked out.
I I'm hoping with you. So well, the Annihilator. I think he lives only 15 kilometers from me. He's a fellow Belgian.
Well,
Uh, No, it looks really fun. Thank you for making this Moody Hound. I think you put in a lot of work. Uh, you found the right statistics. You highlight interesting facts. Thank you for doing this.
no, thank you for your time, and definitely if you don't get to the final, I'm not as convinced as you are that your team are over the hill. I think you've got a solid team. But if you don't get to a final, it'll be great to have you joining us in the commentary box. Because I don't think my poor little underworld will get there. I think I'll be lucky to get past the orcs, and if I do, um, saying the cheesy cheaters are just going to murder me again. But this has been really good fun, and thank you very much for your time. And good luck to Belgium in the Euros, by the way.
Yes, thank you. It was with a lot of pleasure. It's the first time I can talk about Blood Bowl without people turning their heads away. So it was really nice. Thank you.
All the best.
Yes, bye bye.